Hello and welcome to my video, Emma's Life in Norfolk. So I hope you're all well, and today's video is going to give you a summary, an overview, a flavour of our holiday in Italy. So we left via Ryanair on the 14th of July, and we spent 3 weeks in Italy. The first 10 days we spent at Salmona, and then after that we moved regions into the Marche region of Italy and stayed at a holiday park. So come with me as I show you what we did, where we went, and I'll talk through each clip video so you know what it is you're looking at and the different places that we visited. So the first few clips that you've just now seen are in Salmona, and then you'll see a clip of the beautiful countryside as we drove up in the mountains to try arrosticini. So we previously had arrosticini, so this is like very fine skewers of meat. So it's quite an incredible experience really driving there. And then when you get there, you take a ticket, and once your number is called, you go through and you order. And you can see my husband and daughter cooking the skewers. We had, I think, about 10 each, and then we had a liver, one each, just to try the liver. You'll see clips of where we saw the sheep and the sheepdogs. So the Abruzzo dogs are quite unusual. I've never seen any in England, never recognised any, and there was quite a few in some of the herds. So in one of the herds we counted about 8 sheepdogs, and then they go around with the shepherds. So that was really lovely to see. Big herd of them at one point across the road. You can see the landscape and the hills is stunningly beautiful. So the moment you can see how one of the dogs stays right in the background, almost like to guard the pack, and then you have a couple of other dogs in front, and then some of the dogs will actually run about amongst the herd. It's absolutely fascinating to see, and must take quite some time to train the dogs. When I just said guard the pack, I mean guard the herd, of course. So they're protecting the other dogs, but also protecting the herd of sheep. And then you can see how they all go across the road, and there are cars coming in the other direction, and you can see the shepherd there. I really love seeing this, and so did my husband, and so did my daughter. Some of the sheepdogs, well, they're as big as wolves, and they have long white coats, although some of them were quite sort of dirty and bedraggled, if that's the right word to use. Obviously a lot of them probably live outside, spend a lot of time with the shepherds, and amazing animals, and very, very clever to protect the herd of sheep from the wolves. And then that evening when we got back, we went to Salmona and just walked about in the evening, and then the next day we got up in order to go to Lake Scarno. Now we absolutely love this lake. It's so beautiful, so peaceful, clear waters, very relaxing. There's lots of things to do, from kind of, well, I was going to say if you're a tourist, but it's more if you like the outdoors. So you can take a boat out, either an electric boat or a pedalo. You can take a little bike around the lake. You can go up into the village and look around in the village. So there's lots to see, and it's just very relaxing. For us, we just like sitting on the pebbles, which you can see there, and swimming around in the lake. Very, very clean water. So I thought that I'd just show you that little bit without talking too much, so you could just watch it and listen to the water and see how relaxing it is. It was really, really nice. You can see the water pouring down. It's actually straight coming off the mountain. So down the mountainside, and you can see how lovely and clear it is. So we went to Lake Scarno twice, and the first time we went to Scarno we also went up into the village. So we parked just outside and then walked up the streets. Very, very hilly. We laughed a few times and said about people who live up there or work up there. It is a bit of a hike, which you notice more in the summer, don't you, when it's really, really hot. There's quite a lot of maintenance work been done to maintain the streets and the roads. And a lot of it is also accessible, so even though it's hilly, if you had difficulties walking, there are large sections where you could use a wheelchair or kind of be supported. So then you'll see, once we got to Scarno, we tried to get into a church and the door was shut, and then a man came out and told us that we were trying to get in the wrong door and showed us where to go. So we went into the church and there were murals and drawings that were very, very, very old. I think he said these were like 1300s. So that was really nice to see, and they've been really well preserved by putting like the perspex over them to protect them. So the church was really ornate, very peaceful, until some tourists came in and walked around with very, very loud voices. But other than that, it was very cold, very calm, and very peaceful. But you can see how really beautiful the inside of the building is. And then when I come out of the church, you'll then see that I wander a little bit more around the town, so you can see the town a bit more. Now, I definitely want to come back here. There's so much that I really liked about this place. I would even consider looking to see if we could get a small holiday home here. This is living in some sort of dream world, but it really is a lovely place. Of course, the weather is very hot during July and August sort of time. Stays warm until about September, and then it starts getting cooler, and being quite high up we'll end up having quite a lot of snow. So it'd be interesting to visit at another time of the year to see how the weather impacts it, because it's quite high up in the mountains and there's quite a lot of hills and steps. I'm not sure how it would work with heavy snowfall. Then we went to a little coffee shop. We had a drink outside and sat on some benches, and then my daughter went and had a little look at a kiosk where they sell different magazines and toys. And then we really needed to make our way back because the drive was not that long, but there's lots of windy roads. So my husband didn't obviously want to be coming back too late when we needed to be thinking about dinner and planning dinner. We saw another little sort of church full of different monuments, and there were children playing out on the street, playing ball games. One little boy stopped and said hello to us. I think he wanted to practice his English, perhaps. But at this point it's quite quiet because it was sort of like 2 o'clock time. And at that sort of time, people tend to be indoors with the doors shut. Some people have a little sleep, a little break. It might have been a bit later than that, actually. It might have been more like 3. And the shops don't start reopening until about 4, generally speaking. So I said to my husband and daughter, we always forget this. We often get up in the morning, get up quite late, and then we'll go out like 11 o'clock and take lunch, which is nice to have lunch out, but everywhere's closed. Then the next day we went to the market, which you saw a clip of the market, and we went into another church where a man was asking for donations for some work in the church and giving away those little plants. So I gave a donation and we took 2 little plants, which have managed the journey home, incredibly. So one was mine and one was my daughter's. They're a little bit battered and a few of the leaves have come off. You'll see a short clip of when my daughter has gone to get the mountain water, which she enjoyed doing. That mountain water was so fresh. It was lovely. And then on a Sunday we wanted to go to church. Now, of course, We're not going to understand that much of the service, but I thought we'd sing some of the hymns. I can read, I can understand a little bit of Italian. My daughter's fluent, so I thought that'd be quite nice. But it ended up being someone's wedding. We actually attended somebody's wedding, which is very nice, very interesting, but it was a bit of a shock. And then the next clips show a place called Pacentro. Now that wasn't really that far away from where we were staying. Really pretty little place to visit. It's a very, very hot day, but lots of nice little houses, little walkways. There was a little coffee shop that we stopped and had a drink at, and my daughter was chatting to one of the families there that bought her a little chubba chubba lolly, and they were talking to her in Italian. We had a look in the church, which was absolutely beautiful, as all the churches are, really ornate. So that was just nice to have a little look round. There's so many places to visit, little hilltop villages, which are just so pretty. It's really enjoyable. You can see there the castle ruins. It's very, very hot. We decided not to go in there. You had to pay a few euros. It wasn't that expensive, but it's kind of, there didn't seem to be that much to look round, just apart from looking at some ruins. It's quite steep going down the steps. It did make me wonder what it's like in the winter time. And there's pretty little areas where people don't necessarily have much of a garden, but they've put a table and chairs and flowers and just really made it look really pretty. There was a couple of these places for sale. I thought I'm going to have a little look to see how much they are. A little seat sitting there. I felt tempted to have a sit down and have a little swing. Steps going up to different places. People have covered in flowers. Really nice. And then you'll see a little clip of a park that we went to. So we met up with a family that have got a little girl that my daughter was friendly with last year. They met in the swimming pool and started chatting, and we've kept in touch. So the father found this place that wasn't that far away from us. You had like tree chop, sort of like a salt course, really suitable for all ages. I'd say right from being around 2 years old all the way to probably 15-ish, depending upon how adventurous the children are. My daughter, because of her height and the other little girl's height, they did the activities that I see in the video, but there was another level for people who are even taller and older. And then you'll see that we went back to Lake Scarno. This time my daughter really wanted to get one of the boats. So last time we took a pedalo last year. This year they've got a lot more boats. We were at a slightly different place in Scarno, so they might have had them last year, but certainly the bit that we went to didn't have them. So if you go to Lake Scarno, there are different places to stop. The place this year had a lot more for tourists. So the boat was electric, and yeah, you could take it out for an hour, go all the way around the lake. It was nice. At one point we just got to the middle and just sat there and relaxed. You could like turn the engine off and just relax in the middle of the lake. Pretty little houses along the side. There's quite a few other people that have taken boats out. Really nice. I definitely recommend that. And the water's so clear. What some people do is they take the boat right out and then they put the ladder down and they swim in the middle. We didn't do that, probably because we're not we're not really strong swimmers really. And of course it's very deep in the middle. So we took it back after an hour, and what I also liked is I said to them, well, what would happen if, because I think a cost was for every 30 minutes. So we decided to take it out for an hour. So we timed it. So we took that boat out for 30 minutes, knowing that's going to take 30 minutes to get back. But I said to the lady, what happens if we come back 10 minutes late? And she said, nothing, niente. I'm always concerned, this, you know how some places are, they'll then charge you for another hour. And then we were so lucky. We went to on the way back, we went to a place called Villago, which is known for its herd of deer, which just literally wander around the village. They just literally walk into people's gardens, walk anywhere, walk down the paths, went by the shops. They're well cared for, well looked after, and the locals really like them. But my husband suddenly saw some motorcyclists. They'd got off their bike and they were taking photographs. And he thought, I know what they've seen. And so we got out of the car and we saw the deer as well, which was really nice. And then there's a short clip of a church in Salmona and also the place where we always get our lunches. Really nice little panini place. And then I take you into a church on the way back up where we got arancini. Now, unfortunately, we had some arancini when we went to that adventure park with the friends, and we were put off it a little bit because the meat wasn't so nice, and also it wasn't cooked that well. So there was like quite a lot of blood left in some of it, and that certainly put me off. It put my daughter off as well. So we moved our days to go back for arrosticini. But on the way to get arrosticini on that day, there's a little church that we passed a few times, so we decided to get out of the car and pop in and have a look. And then I've got a couple of clips, so I just want to share with you how peaceful it is. You can literally see all these birds, but hear all these birds. It's really, really nice. And then we were back in the car and on the way up to the mountain meadows. Now, up in the mountains, it's really nice because kind of down below it's really, really hot, and you go up quite high and it's a really comfortable temperature. My husband does absolutely fantastically around all these roads. I have never, ever driven around on these mountain roads. Some of the bends, etc., are a bit scary, I think. But right up high, look how we are with the mountains. Of course, in the winter time, the place that sells the arrosticini will be closed and this would all be covered in snow. But the mountains are just lovely. You're getting on with them. Which are ours? What have we got here then? Ivers? Oh, you're doing the salt, well done. Did you hear the window? It was so windy. I had to sit there and hold everything so it didn't blow away. And then on the way back again, there was the herd of sheep all over the road, which you think this time we saw the herds of sheep both times we visited. Last time we didn't see them at all.
That sheep got a really long tail.
They do have long tails. A lot of them have long tails. This one here on the left.
Oh yes. And we stopped on the way down there because I just felt like the scenery was so peaceful. So my husband pulled over and I just did a little video. So quiet, full of nature and so much beauty. Quite incredible. And then the next day we went to a sanctuary which has got two bears that are sisters, and they live there in harmony, in peace, well cared for. And there was a bear museum. I would definitely recommend this if you've got families, or actually just if you're like a couple and you're visiting, because they're really nice to see and they're so difficult to see in their natural habitat. And we got some really nice photographs of them, so it was lovely to see them. So I've added a little couple of clips for you to be able to see them. And then you'll see a clip of one of the jousting parades. So in Salmona, so this was probably about 11:30 at night. All was quiet, and then suddenly, as we were then going off to sleep, we heard one of the parades. Now Salmona is split into different areas, and each area is either like the shell or swan or whatever, and each of the areas has flags up and they all get behind their team. And then the jousting occurs. There's European jousting and the local jousting, and everyone's there supporting their different areas. Another cuddly toy.
Yeah.
We should clear some out at home.
Look, you can put my name is.
Oh, that's lovely, isn't
And
it?
Jay.
Is it soft?
Mega soft, and it's got little beans at the bottom.
Oh. So if you go to Abruzzo in July, August, I definitely recommend that you double check when the jousting takes place, so you can be part of the celebrations and just watch it all. Really, it's lovely. And I showed that little clip of the toy because those of you that watch me on my other channel will laugh to see that my daughter got a cuddly toy. She said that she was going to get rid of 4 at home, and actually you all know that those of you that follow my other channel knows that she has got rid of quite a lot. Then we had one day where we had a lot of rain, and so my husband took us to the caves. Now this was an absolutely amazing experience. These are the biggest caves in volume in the whole of Europe. They are incredible. They are spectacular. I could have spent, we spent about an hour in here. I could have spent a lot longer. The guide was really, really good. His English was very good. And I just found it fascinating. The guide told us all the story about how the caves were discovered, which I found really interesting. How the caves are ever changing. He used his torch to show us where the water is dripping from the roof. Talked to us about bats. He talked us about another cave where he's potentially found a new species of animal. And then you'll see the video then moves on to my husband drove us all to San Marino. We got a separate a stamp in our passport to make sure you take your passports if you visit. We went up the Vernacular, I think it's called, up the side of the mountain. Really smooth, really easy. If you're a bit wary about heights, don't worry, because it's so smooth and so easy, and you can just look forward. You don't have to look down. But the other thing about those caves is he explained to us about how these young men, sort of like 17, 18, they were quite young, and some of them in their 20s, and they found this place and they dropped these stones in and they timed it. And they listened to how long the stone took from dropping it. They timed it all the way down to the bottom. And that then meant they then went off and made a ladder, a rope ladder. And imagine that first thing, nobody has ever been in these caves. There's no evidence of ever humans being in these caves. And that first boy to come down the ladder. But the first ladder, he travelled all the way down and he was floating in complete blackness, not knowing what was down there, not knowing what it was. So we had to pull him all the way up again, and they made another ladder. I mean, imagine the excitement of discovering that. And then you can see these videos of San Marino, how incredible it is. It's lovely. There's lots to see and do, definitely a full day out. I'd be quite happy to stay. So this is obviously San Marino city, and then you've got San Marino, one of the smallest countries in the world, really. You can see the little video of the guards. We went into the palace. We went into a couple of churches. My mum gave us some money for us to buy something to like eat or drink on a day out. So we stopped on the way back and had ice creams and had something to drink. We went into the kind of the politicians area, where they make the rules and the laws. Very interesting. Now, I really would have thought that the costs and the prices of everything here would have been similar to Venice. But to my surprise, actually, things were very competitive. You can see my daughter on a sundial there, trying to work out what time it is. But I thought it was all very reasonable. I would have expected it to have been a lot more expensive. There's a particular brand of jewellery which started off in San Marino with two sisters, and my daughter's, it wasn't silver or gold, but the design was started off in San Marino. As I was then saying, the design was made in San Marino, and the bracelets and the jewellery is very reasonably priced. It was like a very pretty little necklace, only for €15. That's how I draw faces. Look, this one has done a pipe, and then they've scribbled the pipe out. So that little clip was some of the really ancient drawings on the prison. We went right up in the tower and part of the prison. So there was all different drawings on the walls, which are really interesting. And then you'll see we went right up on the wall. Now my daughter went up a bit that was very, very high. And to go through it, you couldn't really take any big bags. Certainly if you were sort of wider than average, you wouldn't have been able to get through. Me and my daughter went up that. Some of the steps were literally like thin, like metal rods. It was all a bit precarious in places. I think I said that earlier about one of my other towers that we went up.
What happens if you don't quit?
Long flight. Also, if you could to China, we could have a little stay in Dubai on the way back.
I think that's 5 to 12 though, isn't it?
Oh, please. I really want to win.
Move just up there and bang.
It's not far. I don't know if it has this age. I'm not sure.
What can we do, Emma?
That trying next door is trying to look through the telescope thing.
The funny thing was that some of this got me and my husband talking about China. Because some of it I really did feel like much smaller than the Great Wall of China. But when you looked across the landscape and saw the kind of the wall go from tower to tower, it really did feel like the Great Wall of China. So the three of us walked around quite a lot of the wall, and then went all the way down, walked amongst the beautiful gardens. So you can see really our time in San Marino, we really enjoyed it. We had a lovely time. And then you see we go down on the funicular again, which was quite quick. It was quite an experience. So again, I'd recommend if you're not keen on heights, look the other way. I loved videoing it as we came down the mountain. I thought that was really good. And just an incredible feat of engineering. That's what I love about this sort of thing. It was, of course, very hot. So you do need to make sure that you're really getting plenty of fluids in, taking breaks and having little sit-downs. Because otherwise all this up and down steps can be quite tiring, really. Oh, it's like a fairground ride.
Swinging.
It's like Disney. Oh. And then I show you a couple of clips of a place we went to called Macerata, which is in Marche region. And part of the story I absolutely loved, that the clock stopped working, the clock in the middle of the piazza, and the local people all petitioned to get the local kind of authority, local council, to put a new one there, which they did, which I just thought was fantastic. I loved that story. We went right to the very, 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 very top, and my goodness, it was windy, very, very windy. We did some shopping, bought some chocolates for friends, bought a couple of different little souvenirs for family members. I went and watched the video to do with the clock. I really enjoyed that. And you'll see my videos right up the very top where it's very, very windy. So I'm getting quite close to the end of my video now. I hope you found it interesting. I hope you found it enjoyable. We spent 3 weeks here, so there was lots that we saw, lots that we did. There was so much more for us to see and do though. We always try to balance it so that we might have one day where we're just on the beach and one day by the pool, just so it is relaxing.
Il movimento apparente dei corpi celesti, ovvero la posizione media dei pianeti allora conosciuti rispetto allo zodiaco. La
The Sudbury Mountains act as a quasi as a commonly this breathtaking view.
It's very windy, isn't it? Well, it is wobbly because it's windy up here. Other people are still up here. They wait.
It's gonna be really loud, Mummy.
I don't know if you picked up when we were there at the top of the tower, my daughter suddenly realised that it was getting close to being on the hour. So she said, "It's going to be really loud, Mummy." So she made an exit to go down because she was worried that it was going to start really, the bells were going to ding and that was going to be really loud. But actually, we found out they only chime at like midday and at 6 o'clock. So I would really like to go back and see they have the like little people go out on the clock. It's really nice. And then I end the video with my husband on the stage dancing. Can you spot him? You've not really seen him much, have you? But all the dads went up on the stage and he's a good sport, so he joined in. So thank you very much for watching my video. I hope if you're thinking about visiting that you get some tips from this. If you're not thinking about visiting, then I hope you enjoyed the video and you feel like you got a good feel of this part of Italy. And I'll see you next time. Bye bye.